I think Jao Sau is fascinating. I have a Jao Sau video on YouTube that's demonstrating the nature of how they think about this technique. It's easily the most successful YouTube video I've had because it's full of comments of people saying the meanest shit to me ever, right? Even this morning I woke up to one and I was like, man, I was trying to start my day, Jao Sau is a concept, right? Really what you're trying to learn is the idea of, it's as simple as if this door is closed, try the other door, try the side door, try the back door. You get the idea, right? When one thing is closed, something else is probably open. That is inherently, or at least very often, true when it comes to this sort of thing. The way you learn these concepts is about going high to low to high like that, right? So here, you're just learning to change levels because you're learning the idea of this door is closed, this door is closed, so try the low one. Meaning one side of the body is a set of possibilities, the other side, and then that's true in a high-low capacity, or one side to the other side of the body. So you're just learning to break the body into zones and conceptualize the way that you train things in that format. I think that's extremely valuable because you could and should be doing your boxing in that way, your Thai boxing or any of your grappling stuff. You're just kind of a way to conceptualize the training. So we use the term JKD concepts for that reason. The important thing is to learn the concept. This is where traditionally it was taught, right? And so now we're also learning some of the history of how Jeet Kune Do works, where it comes from. So what Bruce Lee's concept was, his thought process, which is by everybody's estimation an extremely high level thought process, and then how he kind of manifested that into his art. Now, eventually, even Bruce Lee moved away from traditional trapping, and that's because he had spent his lifetime up until then, or a significant part of it, boxing people, fighting people, winning dance competitions, but really investigating trapping via Wing Chun, right? Obviously, as everybody knows, a huge part of his life. Having spent his life experiences the way he did, he gets to the other side of this trapping thing and goes, I've gotten so good, I don't really need to do that, right? If I want you to move your hand, I'm just gonna kind of feint or fake in a way that moves it where I want it. I'm gonna fake to this side and then just punch over here, which is why everything is so lead hand, or one of the reasons why it's so lead hand oriented. So he's taking the concepts, the lessons, the routes, the angles of attack from Wing Chun, looking at it as a fencing specialist where there's smaller circles for the same concepts and techniques, and going, oh, you know what? If I kind of apply one with the other, now we've got something. So I think it's valuable to learn Jau Sau this way, because it's where that stuff started, but it's not the end of the conversation, it's the beginning of the conversation. So you're starting with a person who's politely acting as a kind of heavy bag for you, as a training dummy, and then I'm doing the same for him. That's why he's stationary, right? So we're here this way, and I want to feel what it's like to hit a barrier and then change my mind and maybe hit another barrier. So that's just kind of the first part, is you're just learning that idea. This is saying, we want to teach you to play very high level baseball, but you've never done this before, especially with children. So you put the ball in a tee and you let them figure out how to hold a bat and how to move and swing. And you know what I mean? You don't take somebody who's 6 years old or whatever and fire a 95-mile-an-hour fastball at them. That's everyone's analogy, but it's because it's true. And so that's the idea behind this training platform. If you think as a combat athlete, as a martial artist, whatever, that you don't need all those baby steps, I think that's awesome. You might be right. I'm maybe not as good as you are, and I needed it, but I think mostly I enjoy the value of it. And as this is a lifelong practice for me, I'm kind of really interested in some of that minutia. I think some of this stuff, I had the luxury of investigating it just for the love of investigating it, just kind of being a nerd about it. So first thing typically you learn for Jao Sau is you run into this barrier, or rather you're trying to score that having finished your pop out, you run into this strong come around. You see how this is all so you're going to have to very much in front of me. That means when this comes around, my checking hand is still here on his arm like that, and this is seeking its target. I'm not going one and then kind of separating and swinging this around, okay? Jao Sau, which means traveling hand, is going to be fairly small. I'm just moving around. It almost starts off looking like Hyun Sau, but it disengages and re-engages like that. So 1 and 2, 1, 2. Again, this hand is here, because if I don't have it here, he should back fist me right in the face. On his end, he's gonna do exactly that. He's just gonna bring the arm out here so that I have something I run into. 1 and 2. Good to remind ourselves that a lot of these techniques were being developed at a time where a lot of the defensive motions looked a lot like that, right? This sort of thing. And so you're running into these solid limbs all the time. So you can imagine, boom, it's a big outside block and a big outside block on this hand. So you have these rigid kind of heavy structures here so that when you pull these, you've really got something that you can get a grip on. So how that part works is, having gone on this side, I'm gonna allow both hands to slide down. They're called Jao Sau, or in this case it would be double Jao Sau. So this is sort of the basic follow-up to having done Jau Sau. We're gonna let the pinky side of our hand, like these are cupped this way, come to rest right in the crook of his elbow. It's kind of like it's gathering the arm up this way, and you're letting them just pull, boom, boom, right into your hip. This way, see the hands move a little bit, and the hip kind of comes in because I'm creating, like pressure into it. It's trying to explode everything in. The second part to the nature of this is you're gonna drop your base. So it's pick your feet up and sink like that. The way I first learned this is you're imagining a house with a basement, right? So part of it's underground, and the basement just disappears. The rest of the house would fall right into that hole. That's kind of how this should feel. It's like the bottom comes out, right? I'm gonna pull in the direction of my near side hip, bang, like that. See his whole body drop? Right, now this is being done as nice as I can while still trying to demonstrate the nature of it. The first time I really got my bell rung, not quite knocked out, but in training at the collie group, was with this. And it's because I dropped so bad that I had that whiplash thing happen, and I was the whole time. And so I really believe in the nature of this technique. Bang, like this. Okay, be mindful of your head when you do this. There's a tendency for them to clash. So that might tell you one, well then I'm gonna point my head at him and make that a headbutt as he drops down, which is risky because you've got two heads slamming into each other. There's a difference between me making him headbutt me and me grabbing him and burying my forehead in his face, right? Those are two very different things. So you might think of this that way, but I just think you should be cautious, especially training it way. This is just one method of learning how to do this. And I think this sequence may have come from Guru Asano. I learned it from Rick Faye, and if my memory serves, this is really his sequence. So here, 1, 2, 3, like that. See this slide and hit? So this kind of becomes quick, 1, bang, like that. So it just hits. So dividing the mind is the name of the concept of going high to low, low to high, that sort of thing. So that when we're here like this, and we run into that arm, we come in and immediately go low. So I'm dropping my whole self down, right? And it's like I'm doing a deep squat, and I'm just bang into the groin like that. But you just slap the thigh like that. And you could follow up however you want it. That gives you an opportunity to play around with half beat training, right? To kind of go, can I go 1, 2, 3, 4, like that? Can I put that low shot in before he even realizes that this thing is kicked off? It takes a while to get to that point. It's very easy to lose that skill. By the way, it's something that quarantine sure taught me. But that's what you want to have, is this thing that happens on the body, because you're developing the ability to change your hand position. More than anything, perhaps, you're developing a full body awareness in real time of where different targets of opportunity or that you create might be. This is high level thinking for training. Again, we're thinking using traditional Wing Chun to amplify our awareness, our dexterity, and just our overall ability to conceptualize our training in an elevated way. So we come here and we pull, you just make that stomp like that. A lot of this training, when you're thinking of trapping, for me, it's extremely technical. There's all this really percussive, maybe flashy stuff that's happening. But the mindset is really kind of caveman, okay? So it's educated, don't get me wrong. But when I'm training this, I'm just thinking of, I'm gonna run you over. I'm not thinking of, we're gonna change angles and shapes and this patty cake sort of thing. On the contrary, it, for me, feels extremely aggressive if I kind of plug into that part of it. Because the whole time there's just this sense of like, dude, I don't care what you put in front of me. Those are going away and I'm going through you. And that's the nature of it. That's why the destructions exist here, you know what I mean? It should just get pretty violent pretty quickly because you're in super close, right? And if you can't, if you don't have some of the skills in the pocket like that, boy, you could be in a lot of trouble, right? So I think having some of that mindset in your trapping training is going to be really valuable in the long run, because it kind of creates a sense of urgency over time. Don't worry about it right away, but over time, so that you're thinking of implementing it a little differently. It changes the nature of it. I'm not being aggressive on his body, but I'm being extremely intentional. And the idea is, I have no idea what happens anytime I'm moving things out of the way. I'm just thinking of going through you, you know? And so if that's the case, and you run into things, then you have no choice but to move those things as you go. It happens small, it happens big, and that's also the situation that's happening out here. We're just in really close. The other way that we think about it, especially for Panantukan, is that's my house. That's something we say a lot in class, which is sort of a funny thing. I want to move your base, move your body, and then we're going to start the fight. And so that's how I think about it. Is I understand you think we're going to have a fight. The problem is you're in my house, right? I'm supposed to be standing where you are. So as soon as you throw that first punch, right, you're here and you're going, no, I told you this is my house. Like that, you know, it's a small disengagement. So large means you go to the outside of the far hand. Small means you're to the inside of the far hand or between the two hands. So usually this goes right into buji like that, because this is eyes, throat, whatever. So the follow-ups from here are plentiful. The easiest one that I like is to just bring this back and gather this up. This is Jao Sau on the inside, maybe Loi Jao Sau you would call that. And I gather this towards my body like that. And as I gather, I'm hitting like this. I love this technique. 1, 2, bam, like that. You're just in a kind of unpredictable way pulling them directly into that punch. And so my whole punch is like that. It's just small, but I'm ripping his face into it at the same time. So it's really a big shot. Obviously be careful with it, but it's a great one to have. Imagine he's just been dunked right in the eyes. Boom, like that, right? And now we straight blast or do whatever your follow-up would be. So thanks for watching. I hope that was interesting or valuable. I just think this stuff is very fascinating. I think there is centuries upon centuries of people from different cultures from all over the world that developed a style of training independent from one another and at times influenced by one another that they found really beneficial to them at that time period. And in those time periods, a lot of those people were dealing with very real conflicts. So I think that there's something to be learned by this type of training. And a lot of the time it's that like 90% of the glacier that's below the water. And that's an easy way to try to sell something. It's like I'm saying, you know, just trust me, it's better for you than you realize, you know, and I get that, but I kind of think that's true, you know, because for me, that was my experience. For me, it really was like, oh, you know, going through the process of learning trapping and trying to develop that at a high level, you get to the other side of it and go, no, trust me, I know 1 or 2 things that will work for me. Unfortunately, I've done them. I know, you know what I mean? And I know other people where their things are different than mine. Just the idea of that shot alone, right? The fact that whether he's jabbing or we're pushing, shoving, and I just go ahead and smash underneath. If I already know we're kicking off, may as well, because it's a dirty little shot that he doesn't see. The foot's down. You know, Bruce Lee was a huge fan of that. If you don't know, his big 3 things that he used were groin kick, up elbow, foot stomp, like that. Right, that was what we see. The art is so different. We have all these debates about, you know, is he thrusting? Was he doing more Wing Chun kind of stuff? Wow, from a lot of people that were there when he was just fighting dudes, no. You know, he was headbutting them and punching them in the teeth, or he's stomping on their foot, and then that's that. So lo and behold, it's kind of a silly debate otherwise. But either way, thank you for watching. We're going to continue to do more videos like this, sort of examining why these arts are valuable or could be valuable or maybe should be trained so that they're not lost over time, because they offer interesting insights into how the mindset of a martial artist or a martial art teacher or a martial art student can actually work. It teaches you how to learn, and that's extremely valuable in any setting. I don't care what it is that we're talking about. So thanks for paying attention to this, and if you're interested in seeing more, please let me know, and we'll see you for the next one.